morning, everyone. Welcome to Regenerate, the Hearty VOD podcast covering all things regenerative. We have got some very special guests today, Michelle Perro and Gundi Rhoades, very empowered women working in their field with a hearty conversation, uncensored, covering the topics that we're all interested in, primarily how to regenerate this earth, ourselves, our cultures, and our community. I'm feeling very excited and positive today. Welcome, Miss McCosker. We've got a big show planned, and I'm just going to do a call out to remind everyone that the National Regenerative Agriculture Day, falling on the 14th of February, where farmers hijack Valentine's Day, is coming up, and we've got lots of things planned. So heads up to the audience that we're going to be rolling out some very dynamic and exciting opportunities to get involved over the next couple of weeks. So welcome, Ms. McCosker. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Kelly and Michelle, Dr. Michelle and Dr. Gundi. We are so very honoured to have you too. Dr. Michelle's from the US of A in sunny California, and Dr. Gundi is from Northern New South Wales in Australia. So thank you so much. We're really excited to have you. Before we crack on with our amazing podcast, I just wanted to share with you our Carbonate Foodie Farmer Film Festival online. This month, actually, our theme is about our Indigenous sacred history. And we feel that actually we can't be regenerative without knowing our real history and connecting with our sacred Indigenous First Nations people. So we've got a very inspiring film coming up on Friday night, which is the movie called Luna. And it's about the Koji and how they wanted to share with the world how important it is that now is the time for everyone to connect and to change the way that they are connecting with the earth and the way that they see the earth. It's very inspiring. So that's on our Carbonate Film Festival. So keep an eye out for that one. So
wonderful. Well, let's just get straight into this one. Ladies, welcome to the show. I would love to just start off with getting a vibe for how you're feeling about current world events, where we currently stand on this planet. And of course, COVID is the head topic on everyone's mind right now. And I'm fascinated to know how that would relate to a conversation on glyphosates and our current state of our food chain and our health.
Then maybe Dr. Michelle, would you like to kick off?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. Delighted to be here chatting with some, cutting edge gals. Nothing else I'd rather do. So before I just give a little snippet about that, I must tell you tomorrow morning I have an appointment with my academic advisor. I'm going back to schools to study agroecology and organic farming. I'm going for some certificate or other, depends how much I can play, work, school thing, that balance. So there's always room for education, even as we're, because I've been practicing medicine for 40 years, still going back to school. So I'm with you gals, and I'd like to learn a bit more about farming. I'm a New Yorker. I am from Manhattan. Not that much farming going on in Manhattan, just saying. But I did, I was very excited about talking about glyphosate, and I said people know about glyphosate, and if they don't, well, gosh, it's been around since 1974. It's not a new herbicide, but I just wonder if people know the relationship between glyphosate and COVID, and I bet they don't. And I just wanted to remind folks that glyphosate is a lovely antibiotic which kills off your microbiota. And that's been shown by Monsanto now Bayer themselves. And you need that crosstalk of your microbiota, the microbiome, that collection of organisms now known as an organ. The major one is in your gut. You have microbiota everywhere in your body, your skin, your eyes, just about every part of you. The gynae, everything has a microbiota. And so when those microbes have a little conversation, not only with your brain, but with your lungs. And there is gut-lung crosstalk, which has an influence with COVID. And I wrote about it, not so long ago for our website. So this understanding that this ubiquitous herbicide is even involved with in terms of COVID. And I can go into more depth about it later, but that's how I wanted to start our share with you gals today. And I'll turn over the mic.
Gundi.
Yeah, look, I find it fascinating that COVID is such a big drama, and let's say it is, which is fine. But at the same time, we are killing our population with chronic disease either way, so the relation of having, let's say, 1 in 7 people with diabetes, like children born with autism, so that has not really been vocalized, and it hasn't really been talked about, in the medical profession, not in my profession, which is I'm a veterinarian. So we are happily treating allergies, we're happily treating diabetes, we're treating cancer, but we have not looked at, where does this influx of disease come from? So in my mind, there is this huge breaking down of the population, in their health. And then we have COVID, which is one virus. And yes, it might be a pandemic and it might be dangerous and so forth. But we cannot kill ourselves every day, every bite of food, of conventional farming that we are eating, and then suddenly moan about a virus. We are destroying the planet left, right, and center. Like you just have to read David Attenborough's last book and how much wilderness we lost, how much ecosystems we are losing, what we've done to the soil. And the funny thing is, so this is all destroying our health much, much more deeply and profoundly, than a little virus. It's one of many viruses. And like any virus, you need your immune system to fight it. Yeah. And what have we done to our immune system? We very much destroyed it every day. So, it is funny how now the whole concentration, everybody's looking on this one virus, but on the other hand, we've destroyed nearly everything. So yeah, so it's very interesting to see, and maybe time to say, this is, a virus that has got something to do with the destruction of the world, the way science is going. Like, where is nature in all of this? What have we done to nature, which sustains us? We should have an immune system. We should be able to fight off most viruses. Yeah, so very interesting times.
Yeah, I think from a farming perspective, so me being a farmer and, knowing about conventional agriculture and seeing, the monoculture crops that are all standing, 3 meters apart, these plants that stand 3 meters apart that are sprayed with glyphosate, and they do not thrive. They do not thrive because the soil is dead. If we take that analogy and then we look at multi-species crops which are thriving, everyone is talking to each other, the little critters in the soil are all happy and jumping for joy, and there's a vibrant, thriving community, then that is the way that we respond to viruses. That is the way we respond. We have this incredible diversity, just like where all of our opinions and everything are diverse, that's what we need in our community. So when we get shut down, it actually has a counterproductive response. It's actually the wrong response. So this is really fascinating, in terms of your knowledge, Dr. Michelle and Dr. Gundi. This is probably what you're seeing.
Well, it's where we're at is understanding that the idea of chemical inputs and environmental medicine it doesn't work. It's never worked. And we've known it's never worked since they started using these chemicals from war, leftover products of war. Like, what do we do this in the early 1900s? They've been trying to shovel this down and kind of retool it and to repurpose it into agriculture, into sweeteners, let's just aspartame, into whatever we can use it, and use it. Cottonseed oil, that was a byproduct, and now we're feeding it to our animals. So this idea of chemical farming needs to be abolished yesterday, because there is an epidemic of chronic disease and our children are sick and they're chronic and they're not easy to reverse. And so I don't even talk about pregnancy anymore. I talk about pre-pregnancy. I talk to couples, dads don't get a pass, by the way, about how to clean up before, because parents are so toxic in their 20s and 30s now that we have to do a significant cleanup 6 months prior to conception in order to avoid the epidemic, forget the pandemic. If we could just talk about the epidemic of neurocognitive dysfunction like autism, autistic spectrum disorder, then that's where my interest is. COVID, yeah, that's important. How about autism? 1 in 23 boys in the US is now on the spectrum. That's an epidemic by our own definition. 1 in 100 makes an epidemic. We've got 1 in 23 boys, 1 in 58 kids. So there was a paper that came out, not to get into the science, but you know, Gundi and I know if we don't talk papers, we get like thrown off the stage. But briefly, paper came out and showed how glyphosate caused autism, not correlated, caused, and showed the mechanism by which that happens. On how, you know, and remember, you don't eat glyphosate alone. You eat a glyphosate-based herbicide, which is much more toxic than even glyphosate, which is toxic. And most of those inerts are quite active. They're not inert. And most of them are they break down cell membranes, surfactants, and POEA, and all this other nasty stuff. So we understand this. So now we have to go with you, Helen, and you, Kelly, and Gundi, obviously, and remove ourselves from this chemical industrialized farming. And I do believe it's up to we gals going to change this conversation. We have to move away, and it's imperative. I don't know if we can fix it now. Our soil is so sick, but Mother Nature, my God, she's so forgiving. So I think if we all focus our general intention from Australia to the US, across the world, on this setting a common intention, I think we can do it and go back to another way of being, like the indigenous, what you're talking about, Helen. So that's where I think we're at. We've come to the end of the rope of what we can do with this chemical farming. It's a disaster.
Yeah. If I can just jump, oh, sorry, Helen.
No, you go, Gundi.
Okay. If I just might, you know, like our audience will probably be consumers, people that are eating. So, you know, we are talking here on this podcast, you know, to a lot of a diverse population. You know, there might be some farmers, you know, they might be, you know, they might know what we mean with regenerative agriculture or with organic. But what I find is most people have no idea, consumers, how our food is grown. So if I can just jump in there and just make that clear. So we have nearly every inch of westernized world, you know, let's just take subsistence farming out of this, which is maybe similar, maybe different, you know, like, but let's just grow into where we live in Australia. If I have a look in my own area, or where we have cattle and cropping, and then we go 100 kilometers west, where we have got nearly all cropping. And I can tell every consumer, this is where your food is grown, and every inch of it is not just full with one pesticide like glyphosate. You know, glyphosate is one of many, you know, it's a very penetrating one, but there is plenty out there. So every inch where cotton, or, you know, that's not so much for eating, but wheat, soy, corn, canola, sunflowers, barley, oats, it looks like this. You know, the farmer comes at the start of the season and will go over everything with glyphosate. So that is the commercial name is Roundup, which is what Michelle is talking about, which is so highly causing autism. But it's, you know, the health not benefits. What's the opposite? You know, the health destruction is on so many different levels. You know, that we can talk about that later. But just to give people an outline, so glyphosate is sprayed everywhere to kill the weeds, once, maybe twice. So that's when you drive around, and I always say to my students, look at this brown piece of just soil out there. You know, that is actually drenched in glyphosate. So, or 2,4-D, or paraquat, which is like an incredibly toxin. Yeah, so it's a group that we call herbicides. So they kill the weeds. So then the farmer can come and plant into that. So, and what all of these chemicals do in the first place is they kill the microbes in the soil. So when you have been outside once, you know, and pulled out, you do weeding in your garden, and you have got this big thick black stuff one there, that's human. And that is, when not poisoned, it's alive. And that is 30 billion microorganisms in 1 tablespoon. Yeah. And Michelle, that is so fascinating that the microbiome in our gut is so similar. Everything should just be heaving with microorganisms. So what do we do with modern medicine or modern farming? We kill it all. So that's what these chemicals do. And that's not the end of it. Then it's planted in the US. 95% of all the soy, the canola, the wheat, the corn is genetically modified with its own health implications. They're genetically modified so that they are Roundup resistant. So then the farmer, in the last 10 years, we have used 17 times as much of all of those herbicides, so we can spray them on top on our crops. That's not the end of it. Then, like this season, we had a wet season in the wheat belt here, and I had a client that was here with her horse, and her husband is actually selling the chemicals for the farm. So she had her eye on it. Her neighbor grew chickpeas and sprayed it in one season 21 times with insecticides and fungicides. So these chickpeas are your hummus. So you go to the shop as a consumer and you buy hummus, and you're eating 21 insecticides and pesticides, fungicides. This is after glyphosate has done all its damage already. Yeah. So this is how you have to be aware as a consumer. Every single bite of food you eat, if it's not organic, will have these, it will be on dead soils, and it will be, and we can go into that later. I don't want to overload people, but it will be nutrient deficient. Yeah, because we killed the microbes that are making the nutrients, so they're all dead. So that is one big block of our chronic disease, that we are nutrient deficient. And then the other block is the pesticides, by themselves. So we have the double whammy. But, if one thing that can everybody just take with this, every bite, if not organic, is multiply poisoned, GMO'd. And especially our vegetables, which are so sprayed, so it's, and nobody realizes actually what we're eating. They go to the shop and we think, yeah, this broccoli looks really nice and green, not knowing that it is actually full of 20 plus, chemicals. The blueberries that are so healthy by themselves, so high in antioxidants, they are grown here in Coffs Harbour, which is 3 hours away from here. It is a toxic mix. The strawberries, often are grown on soil that has been completely sterilized by chlorpyrifos, and so forth. So that is what you eat every day, and this is why everybody, will get overloaded, with toxic and nutrient deficient food. That's probably enough for now information.
No, Gundi, that's so well said, and it's just another reason why, if your practitioner, whether it's a vet, your nutritionist, your chiropractor, your physician, is not talking about environmental medicine, they're decades behind the times. Yeah. Because environmental medicine, and it's what Gundi is talking about, should be at the forefront of every practitioner. And there are ways for those of us who are older, who didn't learn this medicine, and I don't even think it's being taught now in conventional medical school, is environmentalism. Because you're absolutely right. And the truth be told is that those fungicides, insecticides, chlorpyrifos, methyl bromide, et cetera, are equally toxic, if not more toxic than the Roundup. And so the average food here in the US has an average of 6 chemicals sprayed per food. Now, when you couple the diet with dad, mom playing golf here in America, and the average golf course is sprayed with an average of 20 various pesticides, and then you have schools, children's school, dad coming home, mom coming home. I keep saying dad, moms play golf too, with the clothing, agricultural workers with the clothing, and the kids are exposed. Schools here are not protected. California is a big growing area, probably like to areas of Australia, it's common, and kids are exposed and they're not being protected. We keep trying to protect them. We can't even get spray bans around schools. And right now, homes are being merged in agricultural areas. So the rate of toxicant exposure is huge. And when we look at the data, it looks as though children are way more susceptible to these toxic sprays. They have, when they looked at glyphosate levels, for example, children have way higher levels than adults, probably because of their inability to detoxify, as well as they have a higher skin surface area in relationship to body weight, so they absorb more. You just don't get it by eating it. You breathe it, you touch it. It's ubiquitous, you drink it. It's everywhere. So this idea is that is environmentalism. So that what we have to be aware of is environmental health, microbial health, the microbiota, and the effect on our epigenetics, on how it affects our offspring. Those are the three leading topics in medicine today, and it should be all medicine. Functional, integrative, conventional, traditional Chinese medicine is what we all have to focus on, because we have poisoned the planet. It's Rachel Carson, it's her vision, and that's where we're at. So that's what we're dealing with, and how we undo that. Particularly our farmers know how to detoxify from glyphosate. Farmers know what to give livestock. For example, I've been giving it to kids, how to clear some of these, you can. And we know that soil will regenerate. So we can do it. Even our microbiome health, the younger you start, the better, of course, can regenerate. So I love your name of your organization, Regenerate, because this is what I call 2020. This year is resilience and regeneration. It should be an impetus for a renaissance in the way we think about our relationship to food and the environment.
Michelle, can I ask you, I think foodies, particularly they're listening everyone's listening with such deep ears, and really, I think the question is, so you said, we can actually regenerate our microbiomes. Let's talk about that. So what is it that we can actually do as mothers for our children? That's like one of the key things, because I can relate to that, definitely.
Yeah, me too. So what I tell moms is if you already have a baby, you don't want to start detoxing, because everything you do, you're doing to the baby. So the best things mom can do is, one, have a vaginal birth. And in Australia, actually, I think Australians have one of the highest rates of C-sections. You even surpassed us. 34% of your births are cesarean. So chances are excellent you're going to have a C-section. I know I had 1 out of 2. I was in the 50% bracket. So when you don't acquire the microbial inheritance from mom, you look more like the surgical suite or wherever the baby was delivered. So that microbial inheritance can kind of be shifted through breastfeeding. Breast milk is not sterile. There's a host of microbes that are specific, along with something called human milk oligosaccharides. All that is baby prebiotics for their microbiome, specifically bifidobacteria. Babies need bifido. It's Bifido longum infantis. That's the name. And it's in breast milk along with its snack. That you have to feed that bifido, and it's in these human milk oligosaccharides. They're basically the food for bifido. So when the baby gets that, it alters the microbes, alters their immune function, sets up their terrain. But if in need of something special, that microbes go back through retrograde flow, back through mom, and tells mom what to produce. So mom's milk alters. And then, it's amazing. So then mom does her magic and then gives baby back what the baby needs. So what I say, breastfeeding. Now you say, well, adoption, some moms can't nurse, all kinds of things happen. There's our plan, and then life happens. Sometimes nursing doesn't work for whatever reason, or moms go back to work. So many things. In China, moms stop breastfeeding at 4 months. Okay, not ideal. What do? I give additional prebiotics and probiotics. And if you don't use organic formula, forget it. Make your own. And formula must be organic. There are 28 chemical additives in American baby formulas, including perchlorates, glyphosate, et cetera, GMOs, melamine, well, hopefully not melamine, but, it's just an endless fluoride, just an endless list of toxic caca. So organic formula.
Can I say something about the breast milk? Just my personal story of breast milk.
Please jump in, because I'm on the monologue right now. I'll get off the box.
Yeah. So basically, because Mike and I, there's a little meter called a Brix meter that measures sugar content, and you basically squeeze the plant sap, and you can get a sugar level. So the sugar level in a leaf is an indication of how healthy the soil is, right? So Mike and I did this little experiment of testing the breast milk on the Brix meter, and I would eat food, and it would basically be like, you know, I have avocado. Yep, got a really high level, and amazing, because you could see actually through the breast milk how high sugar content there was. And not only that, I remember my kids getting conjunctivitis, and I just get the breast milk and put it in their eyes, and within a day the conjunctivitis is cleared. So breast milk is a magic little power pack.
Mm.
Absolutely. There's so much good stuff in it. And in this, you know, it's a dynamic food. There's no such thing that what we eat is dynamic, that changes according to the needs of the individual. And so that's why I always get kind of little weird about milk banks and milk sharing and wet nursing, and say, because that mom makes a unique oligosaccharide profile for that infant. Now, is it still better than breast milk? I mean, formula? Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to do the best you can, okay? You know, this is not shame and blame here. We support moms for wherever they're at and whatever's going on in their lives. So, but the baby's microbiome, because all those bugs haven't carved out their little niches yet, has up to 3 years to evolve, unlike adults. Adults get kind of set, but you can modulate a baby's microbiota. And there is great data which shows certain organisms reduce colic, atopic dermatitis, eczema, definitely risk of future autoimmune disease, less infection, less gastroenteritis, stomach flu. All those things go down, particularly eczema. There is an epidemic of atopic disease. 60% of Chinese babies have eczema. So something is not going on. If you have eczema, you've got a gut problem. And so we can, just by these simple modulations, organic, formula if you must, make your own please, and of course the beneficial bugs that help baby.
Can I just jump in there again? Helen, do you mind? No?
Yeah, go. This is a shared conversation.
So, you know, Michelle, again, you know, I want to just get that clear for all the people that are listening and the consumers out there. You know, when I talk about organics, I get always this comment, oh, but that's all not true. You know, it's a big scam. And so I just want to, again, you know, and then the new buzzword of regenerative agriculture is there, and nobody knows either, you know, what that really is. So let's go back one step and just clarify that. So as I said before, every conventional food, every vegetable, apple, your bread, your hummus, you know, your broccoli, everything you buy that is not classified as organic and doesn't come out of your or your grandmother's garden will be drenched in pesticides. And pesticides are herbicides, which kill the weeds, which is glyphosate and 2,4-D and paraquat, which are terrible poisons. And then insecticides to kill the insects and the bees, which then kills the birds, and fungicides, which kill fungus. So that is in every single food that you're eating if it's not organic. So then, you know, some people have started years ago to make the organic brand. And here in Australia, we have got two, which is one Australian Organics and the other one is called NASA. And when I had my own farm organic, I went through a 4-year process, you know, of showing my bank accounts, my farm plan. You know, the people come to my farm, you know, we were breeding cattle, and, you know, they would go through everything with me. And as anybody that's running a business will know that you cannot hide, you know, a $50,000 outgoing of herbicide, you know, in your bank statement. It just doesn't happen. Plus, most organic farmers are in it because they really believe in it. So I was in conversion in the end before a drought killed us all off, you know, and that was the end of my organic experience. But I know, you know, firsthand what it means to be organic. So you are not allowed poisons, you are not allowed any of these things that we talked about. So you have to find other ways. And nowadays, when we talk about regenerative agriculture, it's like, okay, organic is one thing, but the big criticism about organic is it does not really regenerate the soil. It is like no poisons, but it doesn't talk about how we really regenerate the soil. So by buying organic, you can be assured, if it's got the little stamp on it, you know, that no, there are no poisons on it. but you cannot say that it is that much higher in nutrients yet either. So now, and Helen's beautiful husband, Mike, is very much involved in this. There will be, and the Rhoades Institute in America, and some other, Southern Cross University in Australia, these people, bless them, they are developing a regenerative label, which will be organic, so no poison allowed. But on top of that, we will regenerate the soil and we get it all pumping again. And then we talk about the microbiome of the soil and how do we do that. There's certain ways of how we do that. We cover crops, multi-species crops with compost tea and, everything that nature and its abundance can do, we will get the soils really, really alive again. And then all these benefits that are with there for the farmer, in less toxins, less poisons, healthy ecosystems, and then the healthy soil will produce healthy food again. So that is just to explain to everybody what this is. Now, we do not have the regenerative label yet. It's not out there. So if I go to the supermarket and I want to buy organic food, or I want to buy healthy food, I have to walk all past all the aisles of even the vegetables and the flour and everything, because it's conventionally farmed. As we said, the hummus will have 21 herbicides, 21 pesticides on it. So walk away, go to the one organic section that there is. So you at least don't get the poisons. If it is at this moment in time so much more nutritious, don't know. Some people are working on a nutrient meter, that you can take with you, which will be fantastic, But so while we don't have the regenerative label, you have either got the choice organic or not organic. So then people say, yeah, but can I trust it? Then yes, A, you can, but B, like you can buy normal food and you can be guaranteed to eat the poisons, or you can trust that organic farmer that he's doing the right thing and that he doesn't use poisons. So I rather trust that organic label. Do we sometimes have people that, like in America, I know that you're growing organic carrots in a really bad manner. Yeah, so no, it's not allowed to murder people. It's not allowed to steal stuff. Does it still happen? Yes, we've got a police force, So this is a little bit about the organic, So while we try to regenerate our planet, and it's much, much further than just our individual health or the health of our children, it's actually planet health. And believe David Attenborough and the scientists, we've got about 30, 40 years before it all will collapse, including us. And if we want to bypass that, and get the beauty of nature again, then everybody, every consumer, everybody going shopping, next shopping trip, buy organic, because that's better for you and your family and the next generation, but you're also helping those farmers that are trying to do the right thing, and you encourage them. So you're actually, I would say, you're saving yourself and the planet, and you really, really do. Because Michelle, as you know, you get silenced talking about glyphosate. Like we will, like it will take years before Monsanto or Bayer or Syngenta or any of those companies to beat them. They are so powerful. They're the most powerful companies in the world. When you look at Australia, from the top of Australia to the bottom, on 1,000 kilometer, like 1,000 kilometer weeks, these pesticides are sprayed. Like that's what the agricultural companies do. There's so much money in it. We will not beat them in a hurry. Like this is Kelly, let's go and just beat them. Vote with your dollar. Every time I go to the supermarket, and I choose that organic, and hopefully soon the regenerative label will be out, then you can even do better. You're supporting those farmers. You make such a statement, like such a statement of, I don't want this anymore, but people do not know actually what they're eating. Not even doctors. When I talk to doctors here, and they don't even know what Roundup is. It's amazing. A local doctor here has got leukemia, as a lot of farmers have, and they are living on a farm. And so I said to his wife, do you think you should change your diet? No, it's got nothing to do with it, and this is from a local doctor, so this is the response. But nothing, or say that too, nothing is done out of evil. Most things are just done out of ignorance. People really truly don't know. Like how would you know, to go and you buy a loaf of bread from the shop, that this is actually really poisonous, or that the egg is grown with grain, that not information. This is why we're here, to try to tell everybody, trust that organic label. It's the only thing there is apart from growing it yourself, at the moment. So yeah, that's my little monologue. Back to you guys.
I mean,
Yeah.
the reality is there has been a very dark agenda that has come through, and I don't think this is an innocent situation where we've accidentally completely poisoned our food chain. There is an agenda at foot, and depending how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, it all essentially leads to the same corporations and then to the same. You can essentially put a face to this. There are faces to this. It hasn't been accidental. The food chain has deliberately been poisoned. Our medicines have deliberately been poisoned. Our information deliberately kept ignorant and incorrect. And our education system has deliberately, by design, been created to prop up these falsities. So this is not something that's just happened naturally on planet Earth. So if we're in a situation now where enough people are either A, sick, or B, smart, or C, like soulfully connected to a personal arising within their own consciousness and their connection to the earth, and or are in this movement of rising of humanity's consciousness, the divine feminine, all the things that make the true hearty nature of regeneration. Like, we're talking about a shift is taking place right now on planet Earth. And whether you believe this is a pandemic or a scamdemic, like, the reality is that there is a shift afoot, and every single thing that's led up to this moment, every single thing that has been designed to corrupt the humanity, it feels to me like we've got a renaissance on our hands, and that these shifts are happening as a contrasting, natural, polarized pendulum swing back to a human renaissance. And to me, that means there's going to be a major, mega shift in this situation with the poison on our food. And to me, I don't feel like it's very long until they become a crime against humanity, because that is what they are. They are a crime against humanity. And when we're talking about our, like, basically every single thing in our food chain, like every single thing in our food chain, we know that we're not talking about an organic natural occurrence here. So if that's the case, it means it's absolutely fixable. I mean, it's absolutely changeable. And the real change is a consciousness shift, which I believe we're right in the middle of right now. So I have a lot of hope for the how quickly and dramatically we're going to go through a revolution of regeneration, where these conversations will, in years to come, be studied at universities, just because of the complex nature of this agenda that has been basically facing the human race for so long now. I mean, hundreds of years almost, right? We're not talking about the beginning of this. We're at the tail end of this. Your thoughts?
So well said, Kelly, because if you look at conversations like these that we're having right now, here we are 10,000 miles apart, but yet we are doing what women do best, and that is networking. And I am a strong believer still in grassroots revolutionary thinking and activism. That change is not going to happen at the government, which I'm trying to do, but also locally. So that happens in our own backyard. It starts with your home, and then your little community, your little township, or however you use it, and then we build out from there. Who we put as mayors in our own little towns that represent our beliefs, which is restoration. I also believe that we are too in a regeneration revolution. And I do believe we have to talk about regeneration agriculture, and that organic is an outdated term. But we have to meet people where they're at. Many people are not ready for the regen revolution, because that's what we're at. So we kind of bring some people along in baby steps, but just as long as we bring them along. There's no mom here in America that doesn't realize that there's something's wrong with their kid. We know, all the moms know. We just don't have the tools, because conventional medicine is not giving them the tools. And most people do not have access to integrative kind of practitioners because we're outside the insurance system here in the US. We are barred literally from the system. So that's a whole other conversation, and they don't have access. Then the media prevents the information. They control the conversation. We have to work around the media to get our message through. Literally, that's what we do. Every time something gets shut down, there's a new opening, BitChute. You can't get on YouTube, we'll go to BitChute, we'll go to Vimeo, we'll go to, all these different things keep popping up because we're bubbling, right? So we can't be contained or constrained. And the most important thing we can do is shift the word organic food. Conventional food should be organic. We all know that. It shouldn't be conventional food is chemically grown food and GMO food. That organic food should be food, and everything else should be called chemical food or industrial food, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And so we have to change language to reflect what's happening in our culture. So I couldn't agree with you more. So who is going to be the stewards of doing this? It seems that it comes down to women. When I even look at my clinical practice, I need guys to step the heck up. Back in the day, I only saw moms. I was like, where are the dads? I know they're their children too, but now when I see a family, I want to see the parents together, whether it's 2 moms, 2 dads, 3 moms, 4 dads, I don't know, whatever the permutation is, want to see all the parents, because this is not a mom's conversation, even though women seem to be driving health, education, and environmentalism, but that landscape has to be changed, and it changes with providers like me who insist that you've got to have dad involved in the conversation. So dads, as I said before, don't get a pass. We've let men get away with this, and we shouldn't. And I'd say, I just have to give a shout out today. Carrie Gillum, who's a heavy hitting scientific journalist, just released today her book, The Monsanto Papers, which talks about one landscape sprayer's journey and his Goliath fight against Monsanto, now Bayer. And so she's been brilliant. She wrote Whitewash. So there are authors coming out and groups. And so the more that we unite and network our little organizations, mine, yours, Regenerate, all our groups, we create a bigger network. And we do it the way women know how to do it. And it's by conversations. What we do is we talk to each other. That's how women do it, right? I'm not out on the golf course. I'm having conversations with a bunch of gals, usually over food, organic food, properly prepared. But yeah, my best meetings have been with my gals and starting in kitchens. All the work we've done here, home in Northern California, has all been in someone's kitchen with a group of 3 gals. And that would be and moving mountains, doable. So I think that's where the hope is. That's where what we're talking about, that's what we need to do. Frankly, I'm tired of talking about glyphosate. We've been talking about glyphosate since 1973. Monsanto knew it was a poison when it first tried to get it approved in the US. It knew it caused cancer. In 1983, went to the EPA and it said, look, kidney cancer from your product. And they did their shenanigans and got it pushed through. We've known it's a carcinogen since its inception. This is not new news. And now it's just all coming to light because of deep pockets. But they lack one thing that we have, and that's passion. Do not underestimate the power of a passion. And when you hurt our loved ones and our little ones, whether it's little plants, little puppies, or little children, whatever the little ones are, the vulnerable, that's where our mama bear gets riled up. And my own personal journey is to get every mama bear and papa bear riled up to fight on behalf of fill in the blank. So that's what we're trying to do, because it's known. We don't need any more studies about glyphosate. We really don't. I don't. I have plenty of data. What we need now is action.
Yeah, I think I might just say something on that, Michelle, about that focus of women leading this charge. In the farming space, in the regenerative agriculture space, it's actually, my personal story of being a mum, having little kids, and, when the sprays went out, saying, I can't be here while we're spraying, I'm taking the kids into town. And the thought process of, wait a minute, that's going on to food that people are eating. So we need to be real about as a family, what we're providing for our communities and our foodies. So that then comes deeper into, you know, and it's actually the mothers or the women that say to their husbands and their extended family, this isn't right, and they're the ones that start doing the research and finding out. I mean, I remember seeing you when 15 years ago when my kids were little, 10 years ago, and watching your YouTubes when you were in Sydney, and just that journey of your knowledge and wisdom was really, really powerful in my journey of awareness and education. And it's women, it's farming women that actually are driving this regenerative agriculture space big time. You know, we're seeing the concern around the monetization of regenerative agriculture, the big carbon aggregators coming in. That's a big concern right now. It's sort of mirroring that food revolution that happened where they were like, oh, glyphosate's the new whiz bang thing that's going to save our planet. We need to be really careful right now that this whole carbon space where we're really focusing on regenerative agriculture doesn't get washed into another monetization. I think that is really, really important. So as women and as foodies who buy food, we are the grassroots power pack of, you know, how we can actually really change the situation.
Well, you mean, you look at the energetics. When I say the rising of the divine feminine, what I'm actually saying is the rising of Mother Earth. Like literally the mothers have this. They are the warriors who are going to rise. This literally is the largest underground movement in the history of the world right now. I mean, it's one of our favorite statements with Regenerate. And it's literally the largest grassroots movement in the history. And that grassroots movement is mothers and women backed by the consciousness of the rising of planet Earth again, Mother Earth. And that energetic is shifting everything because it's not something that can be monetized. It's not something that can be put into the hands of tyrants or be politically motivated. It is something that is innate to our soul. And I think for me personally, one of what I feel like has been one of the biggest bridges, particularly in the regenerative agriculture space, is there's a real lack of spirituality and soul language and heart language and sacred space. And, you know, when we started this journey, I opened with a sacred prayer on one of our websites, and the word sacred got so many people upset. And to me, it's like, if we don't start bridging this feminine language, this narrative of heart, of heartiness, of soulfulness, of sacredness, our original languages, our original people, you know, the rising, and then we have to move that even further, as only the divine feminine knows how to do, into unification. The unification of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, or the unification of the old structure and the new structure. Either way, that consciousness is running powerfully through the voices of everyone who is standing up right now, making these changes in their lives, in the lives of their family, on a broader scale, on a broader scene, like in these conversations all around the world. We interact with people all around the world, and there's literally thousands and millions of us right now, all mirroring this same attitude. It is more powerful in the manifestation of reality moving forward, and what this planet represents is our consciousness over and above everything else. That has been the agenda to poison and break down the immune system of the human being to affect our consciousness. So to me, when we talk about healing the planet or eating healthy food or participating in our own sovereign food chain, we're talking about a renaissance of human consciousness. And that is why I know we are on path for a massive regeneration across the planet.
I want to talk about, yeah, you go, Gundi.
Okay, if I may just jump in there, Kelly, you know, just to put the, you know, like absolutely what you said, you know, men, you know, masculinity, we have had 2,000 years of, 3,000 maybe, who knows, about male dominance. And the farming system nowadays is actually the epitome of our mechanical thinking. So even if who knows who's behind it, but when we look at where we are at, in the last 200, 300 years, science has done such a massive jump. Even put it in perspective, 11 years ago, we did not know much about the microbiome. 100 years ago, we found out that bacteria can cause disease. Yeah, and we just discovered all of this in the last 200 or 300 years, and we put, like Michelle, just like with the body, you and I studied medicine, so we learn physics, chemistry, biochemistry, the kidneys, the liver, the eyes, the ears, we pull it all apart. Same as on the land, we pulled it apart. Liebig discovered nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium and all these other minerals, we pulled all of that apart. What we haven't done, which is let's call it a male principle, of trying to understand mechanically what's happening on the planet, and so we have not yet had time or the willingness, whatever, end games, we haven't put it back together. We have not joined the dots yet. We haven't actually really understood that the kidney can't work without the gut, can't, without the liver. It is so together. Nature is so together. And yet then we go onto a panic and we just poison it, like kill all the microbes, not even knowing and understanding what they actually, how important they were. So now, science, one has to understand your body does what it does anyway. Like if you have read 100,000 medical books, or if you're illiterate, your body does the same thing. It does it anyway. Nature does it anyway. And nature can regenerate, and health is default. And health have a drought here, and it starts raining. And poof, where does it come from? Suddenly it's all green again. The frogs are quacking again, and the koalas are back. And you think, oh my God, how did that happen? Because nature can regenerate. We just have to we just have to stop poisoning it, and we will be all right. Like nature can regenerate so fast, and so can our bodies. But the mechanical mindset, which you might as well call a male, how men want to have things in boxes, and even without judging that, like without saying this is good or bad, our principles is like, we're all connected, and we see everything together, and we sit on the kitchen table. And then a man does it by himself, and, generally speaking, and without being a bad guy, it's just mechanics, So the farmers that I know, and Hellen and I live in the same area, beautiful men, beautiful people, but then they come and they poison, because all they do is they grow a commodity to put their kids through school, to buy a car, to pay off the bank loan, so this is how entrenched it is. It's not grown food as such, it is growing a commodity. And that's where a big, problem comes in. So without knocking men, and knocking science, we just haven't found out enough yet, so, and if we realize this, like the first research about gut bacteria, 2011, what else is there that we don't know? We don't know, like I have been in medicine and the body for 30 years, Michelle for 40. How much do we know? Yes, there is another piece of the puzzle that comes in, oh yes, another bit of research, but to understand, we don't know that much. Take the foot off the gas pedal, let it regenerate, just eat normal food, then everything will start to happen again. And where then, Kelly, the feminine will come in, is because we as women generally are abundance, and we are Mother Earth, so we had the male thing, now we're going more to the female, but let's not say that all men are bad, let's combine us, and find out together, how we can save this, because we have to, it's no doubt about it, we just really have to.
Gundi, you're talking about holism, holistic medicine and holism, and going back, rather than seeing crops separate, monoculture, soybean, cotton, corn, we've got to talk about holistic farming, because farming works together, and you grow companion plants, and you grow certain flowers with certain veggies, and it's companionship. And that's how we gals think. Men and women are designed differently. They're designed to be linear thinkers. That's why they like engineering and the technocracy. We as gals, we use multiple pathways to think. We're designed differently. So we're more holistically minded. And that's not by how amazing we are. That's biology. But biology needs to rule here. And so where we went awry is when agribusiness side, they wanted to own seed. Once they decided, but Monsanto's, DuPont, Syngenta, whatever, I've heard Vandana Shiva speak so eloquently to this. Once they decided that they want to do seed ownership, it became a commodity ownership, breaking it down into compartments like a kidney and a lung. We've got a soybean and we got a GMO corn. And so we gals now are resewing this patchwork quilt back together. We're taking our mosaic blocks and we're making the quilt. And we can, but we have to kind of reheal. What we're talking about is healing, and we are looking at all the ways we know how, from indigenous to medical to whatever tools are in your tool chest. Many things work to bring it all back together with a holistic point of view. Where we went awry in medicine is when big pharma, when drug-based medicine decide that natural medicine was not okay anymore. That happened in the US. We drove that. Rockefeller drove it in 1917. And we've been on that track now for 100 years. And what we are saying now, as practitioners, many of us, is that model doesn't work. Pill for ill, one crop, one pesticide, doesn't work. And we're going down to a holistic way of thinking. We are being fought because we're talking big money. There's big money in seed ownership. We gals, we humans don't want to own seed. We want to share seed. It's a different mindset. So we're trying to shift the mindset out of this profiteering seed ownership, which is what they're trying to do. If you modify a seed, you own it. It's a patent. It's a patent parade. So we have to get off of this, remove we have to understand finances. Women often are not big financial leaders for many reasons. Some self-imposed, some societally imposed. We have to think financially on how we recreate a financially stable model and make it work, right? And while at the same time, creating the sustainable model, sustainability. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it in different ways, but that's all we're trying to do. And that's why holistic medicine is so beautiful. And we're returning the power to heal. As humans, as animals, our animal companions, and the earth. There is an innate power there. And it doesn't fit in an engineering model. You know, sexy science, everybody's into technology right now. And I could say we can embrace technology. It's not going away. Here we are in Zoom zone. It's not going away. But can we do it in a way that doesn't destroy the planet? Can we do it in a healthier, holistic way? And that's what we're searching, and we think we can. And here we are. We're all doing it in our own little niches. Communication, farming, animal care, you know, production. We're all doing different ways. And we have men on board who are helping this conversation, getting our technology correct. Not my strong suit. So you see, but it's doable, but only if it's cooperative and collaborative. And that's where the feminine comes in, because the feminine is cooperative and collaborative. And that's what the yin and the yang. So that's where, and that's what has to be embraced. And there may be some messiness as we try to embrace it. There are going to be people holding on to the old model, and we know who they are. And big profits. We have to get away from that.
Yeah, Gundi, I'd love to bring you in now and talk about pets. You know, everyone's got pets and how they can really care for them and what their diets are. I think everyone would love to know that.
Yes. So our pets are subject to the same food that we're eating, if not worse. So a commercial dog food or cat food normally has got 60% carbohydrates in it. And a cat should just eat 5% of carbohydrates. You know, a cat's diet, let's say it's a mouse, you know, there's a bit of fat, there's protein, and a little bit of the seed that the mouse has eaten, but 5% carbs, and that's it. Yet cat food is 60% carbohydrates. And so it's dog food. When you look on the label, it will say, let's say 17% protein and 15% fat. Add that up, comes to whatever, 30, 40%. They don't mention what the next 60 is. You know, the next 60 is actually normally grain. And grain as whole grain. We haven't even touched on what the food industry has done after we grow poisonous food. We do the next level of insult to it, by extracting and by coloring and by trans fatting, and so forth. So those 60% of, let's say, grain were grown in monocultures with all the poisons. So our pets get the Roundup and the 2,4-D and the pesticides as much or more than we do. And so as a veterinarian, I see every day, every vet sees allergies, for example, and then how do we treat it? Before I woke up to the whole thing, it took me 30 years of connecting the dots, so we just grab either the cortisone, which works brilliantly, client is happy, dog might get sick in the long run, but yep, it works. Now we have immune modulators, and we have got other drugs, that are, blocking a little bit more specific than cortisone and so forth, so we're using these drugs. And I never got taught the connection to, for example, glyphosate, coming back to glyphosate. So I will have these conversations with my clients, like as long as you're giving your dog this dog food. And who would give a baby, this is what we vets do, and this is considered best practice, and I'm very critical about it. We get a bag from a big company with dog food that's got 60% conventionally poisonous grown carbs in it, give that to the puppy, and then we say, when you're 7, we're going to change this, and then when you're 10, we give you a senior bag. And this is it, as if, again, like we in a factory know the sole and only food that this dog should eat all its life. Yeah. So as a vet, we see the allergies and the arthritis and the cancers, that are growing, and quite often behavioral problems as well. So I have this conversation in the consult room. Okay, your dog has got an allergy and is really itchy. Let's go back to the food. Let's have a look at glyphosate. What does it actually do? The glyphosate that is in the wheat, let's say. And then it's like, oh my God, is there glyphosate in the wheat? Yes, there is, because quite often we even harvest the wheat with glyphosate. Or when I ring the company in America and say, look, all of your food, this is the biggest pet food company on the planet that sponsors every vet school, and I won't mention the name because then we get cut out. So biggest company, vet endorsed worldwide. Pardon? Yeah. So and I ring them and I say, so it's all from America. So is this true that it's all genetically modified? And they say, yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's all fine. I'm like, right out, thank you, off my shelf. So glyphosate comes and goes into the gut, kills the microbiome, and rips the tight junctions apart. So the gut cells are like this. 15 minutes after glyphosate, bang. And that gap, that leak, is what we call leaky gut. So suddenly all these bigger molecules from your gut that you've eaten, or the dog, can go into the bloodstream as bigger molecules, and they start inflammation. And inflammation is arthritis, asthma, depression, it's all a hyper-inflamed state. So now this is a conversation that I then would have, like treating a food allergy or any allergy, scratching dog, so many, 1 in 3 maybe, let's just change the diet, and then eat organic, because then you don't get glyphosate. You will not be able to heal an eczema or an allergy if you don't go off, those special food items. So this is a very interesting space to be in. And then, of course, we get the cancers. And just to give people a couple of stories, because stories are great, to bring the points home. So a couple of winters ago, I get a Kelpie, which is an Australian working dog. In the middle of the night, I run some bloods and the kidney values are off the scale. They're completely so high. And when that happens, we put them on a drip, whatever the reason is, which we quite often don't know. But intravenous fluids normally have the chance, to heal the kidneys and to get the values down again. The next morning, the dog is blown up like a balloon, and not one drop of water that I put in the vein, never seen this before, went into the bladder, and the kidney values were even higher. They were off the scale. Questioning what had happened is the dog and another dog ran over a sprayed field about 50 kilometers from here. The farmer had just sprayed, the dog had run, licked its paws, 2 dogs. The other one died very quickly, and this one I put to sleep the next morning because the kidneys were absolutely damaged, So I started to question, what's actually happening here, and we found out what poison it was. Look on the website, it's highly kidney toxic, so it's not a spray paint. That's what we use to, with a mask to spray your car or something, in a chemical factory. This is food grown, this is where you grow food. So that's another client of mine takes a lid of a substance in the shed. It splashes on her face, and she is in intensive care for 2 weeks because the poison put her into this is probably paraquat we're talking about, which is still allowed in Australia. And then, last month, for example, I have hundreds of these things, like little dog called Peanut. She was 18 months old, and the family absolutely adored her. And they lived in Moree, which is 100 kilometers from here, on a farm. They were subject to the crop duster spraying the poisons on top of them. And the dogs are a bit like the canary in the mine. Their metabolism is faster. They show us these things. So 9 months in that environment, and the dog came with lymph glands. So she lasted a week. She was in so much pain, and she had leukemia, and I had to put her to sleep. And then a week later, I get another dog with 2 years of age, full of liver cancer and metastases in the, and people ask you, why is that? And then you put the dots together, and then you think, this is not normal. This has to be, like, I'm sorry, this is how we grow food. And yes, pet food is a concentrated version of all of this, so same for the pets, same for us, our bodies can't handle it anymore.
Gundi, can I ask you a question? Because here in the Midwest, in the US, my farmer friends who send me these horrific pictures, we have a problem here of cow wasting disease, which is basically a code word for botulism. And these cows are getting botulism as well as horses because they're laying on beds of hay filled with glyphosate. When we looked at their food, this lab in Iowa tested their food, 800 parts per billion in their soy-based cow chow, horrific cow food. And as if that's not bad enough, this is how I got when my light bulb went off. Was there was a vet study in 2013 where this very wonderful vet, I love her name is Dr. Kruger, showed how glyphosate altered the microbiome of chickens and killed off the beneficial bacteria and increased the growth of botulism, Clostridia botulinum. Are you seeing this in your neck of the woods? What are you seeing as well in Australia? It's a huge problem here in America, not talked about. They don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't have so much botulism here where I am, but up in the north of Australia they do, very much so, so they are vaccinated against it, Yeah, the whole feedlot industry, let's come to the next subject about cattle and vegetarianism and veganism, so cattle, I always say it's not the cow, it's the how, but cattle in feedlots are subjected to, they get fed the grains that are grown on glyphosated industrial farming. And so, yes, they do get all of that. And when you think cattle's rumen is full of bacteria, so the glyphosate being an antibiotic, will kill them and alter them. And then a lot of feedlots have been feeding because the grain ration is too high, antibiotics at subtherapeutic levels. So then we have the next problem of multi-resistant germs, that come. And these antibiotics to a horse or a human are lethal because they destroy the muscle tissue. We can measure that, yeah. So there is a whole next problem. Good news though, while I don't like feedlots, the local feedlot here has started to not feed those antibiotics anymore. However, they still feed barley that was grown with glyphosate, so the whole feeding cattle high amount of grain is problematic in itself, having them, like you say, on straw. So cattle in grasslands, on the other hand, and this is where Hellen and I and her husband Mike are so involved in, to put the record straight somehow. Cattle with holistic grazing management in grasslands are actually the fastest way of increasing carbon in the soil and getting soil back to having an organic matter that is rising. And so cattle can be either really bad or really good, and that again comes down to consumer money, what you are actually supporting. So if you go and buy a steak from a feedlot, you are perpetuating a bad system. You go and buy organic beef from a regenerative farm, excuse me, or from at least grass-fed, and you're actually helping to put the carbon, you know, for your own health, but also for, you know, drawing the carbon down. You know, so our consumer dollars are, you know, we can shift the planet, Kelly. We can shift it like that just by making our food choice, you know. So if we just go to climate change, you know, which is the other big threat, you know, like our human society is falling apart because of the sickness of our children. But the environment is falling apart because of, let's say, climate change. And it's not just the carbon dioxide, it's also the water, you know, in there. It's the nitrous oxide, you know, which is a really strong greenhouse gas, which comes from NPK fertilizer on yet, you know, the same industrial farming system. And then let's talk about carbon and getting it into the soil again. You know, those monocultures have huge, a cow is nothing compared to the huge carbon emissions from all the soil being dead and puffing up the carbon in the air. Because every life form, every bacteria, 30 billion in 1 tablespoon is life form. And then we have roots, and then we have sugars going from the plants into the ground. You know, the soil, underground life, Kelly, you know, the soil is the biggest carbon sponge on the planet. And, you know, there's been extrapolations done. If we would just change farming, nothing else but farming, we can draw all of that carbon dioxide down into the soil within a couple of years. Climate change nearly done, yeah, which is like, that is amazing, you know, that is, and every consumer, you know, you buy grass-fed, you buy, you know, grass-fed beef, regeneratively grown beef cattle, and then, you know, like, buy organic food, the potential for planet health. And then, you know, like, you have got things growing everywhere, and then there's the small water cycle. So all the water vapor that at the moment is evaporating from these millions of hectares of dead soil, puff into the air, you know, that is your water sitting as water vapor up there, being another greenhouse gas that is never even talked about. But, you know, have a higgledy-piggledy permaculture growing things everywhere, you know, a few cattle, a few crops, you know, put it all together, you've got stuff growing actively whenever the sun's shining, pulling the carbon out into the air, increasing the fertility of the soil, and getting the water cycle, you know, growing again. You know, like, only trees and vegetation will seed the clouds. You know, we are creating deserts in the west of Australia. My goodness, we've been through the drought. It's not a coincidence. You know, the fires where 4 billion animals died here in Australia. You know, like, I've had the koalas in my clinic, you know, being dehydrated and kidney failure. I couldn't save even one of them, you know, because they are so dehydrated. So it's all part of the big picture, you know, how our health and ecosystems are all one. And one big solution is regenerative agriculture, because you solve all of these problems, you know. It's so, and everybody has got that power in their hand next time you go shopping, you know. And when we realize that, and as you say, you know, we women normally are the shoppers, you know, we are the people, even if we tell our husbands, you know, like, hello, you know, yeah, make sure when you buy that milk that it's organic, you know, buy that flour and it's organic, you know. So we can do this, you know, like, it's absolutely amazing, the potential and the hope that we have. And then, Kelly, you know, the consciousness of, you know, embracing this abundance, embracing health, you know. Like, I also always say, Michelle, you and I have never really healed anything, you know. Like, I can put a bone together, put a plate on a few screws, you know, but the body is healing that, you know. We enable, we help, you know, but let the body, you know, like, we can't heal even a scratch on your skin, you know. It's your body doing it, and therefore the body, you know, has to do its own thing, you know. And when we realize that, you know, that nature has had it worked out for millions of years, you know, like, you are the last person standing, both sides of your family go back to the first amoeba. There was not one that was infertile, or not one that was, you know, every one of your ancestors went to mating age and created another baby, you know. So that's how the default of health is, you know. It's unbelievably powerful. And then we started poisoning everything in the last 50 years, and bang, you know, it's just not working, you know. So on all levels.
That's so beautiful, Gundi. I think if we can all from hearing this know that we are all, each and every one of us, enablers. Like, that is so powerful. That is so powerful. And I think, you know, I think that you say that the biggest solution is regenerative agriculture. It's actually the regenerative communities and how we engage through the way we speak with each other and our conversations, and how we use music and art and get tapped into all of that beautiful soul food that is so important to our thriving, just like the soil. You know, the soil, the soil that creates.
Yes.
The soil. Yeah, it's a soil that creates incredible diversity, and that's what we need in our communities. That same, the mirroring of the beauty in the soil and the nutrient density in our plants that the soil gives us, and the vibrancy in our landscapes, and all of looking after our little koalas and our birds and wildlife. It's the same in our communities, so much so. And we as women are the enablers of that.
Yeah. And when I can just butt in there, I get a bit passionate about things, you know, like, so if I can just, for the science buffs and the non-believers and the techno people out there, for example, just two little examples, you know, like the soil, when it is alive, creates a substance called humus, which is the black stuff. And humus creates fulvic acid. And fulvic acid, one piece of the puzzle only, one piece of the puzzle, you know, if I can just mention this one. So we only get fulvic acid if there is soil that is alive, which is not the case in conventional farming, only in regenerative and organic farming systems, yeah. Fulvic acid, it is like a truck bringing food into a town, yeah. So you can have all the food in the world sitting everywhere, but if you don't have fulvic acid to put it on its truck and bring it to our little town of Inverell, the food is worth nothing. And this is what fulvic acid does. It's a carrier of nutrients into the cell. So what is happening if we destroy humus and we don't have fulvic acid and we don't carry the nutrients in? You know, mental illness, physical illness, you know. Another one that is one of my favorite, tryptophan, one of 9 essential amino acids. It's a building block of, it's one of the building blocks that make proteins, which is your whole body, muscle, liver, your hormones, yeah? Tryptophan is one of them. It's only produced in the soil by bacteria. Remember, glyphosate killed them, but it's building block of IPA, which is Alzheimer protection. Alzheimer rates are going up. It's a building block of B3. A professor in London has cured schizophrenia with high doses of B3. It's a building block of serotonin, which is your antidepressant. We have got a mental health crisis like never before. So one item out of the divine soil that we destroyed, because glyphosate destroys the shikimate pathway for all the science buffs out there. You know, so no shikimate pathway, no tryptophan in your food, and you can add things up. You know, so the science background for all the, you know, the beautiful language that we are talking about, you know, with music and connection and so forth, the scientific background is endless. You know, and it's like Michelle said, you know, we really shouldn't talk about it anymore. It's done, it's dusted, we know this now, you know, but the depth of this, you know, that is destroyed is just the very basic of human life. You know, and we will not even have spirituality anymore if our brains are completely destroyed, you know, by these poisons and by lack of.
You know, Gundi, this is such an important point, because I was ranting about the autism before when I was on, you know, my platform, but it's the same with glyphosate, because 90% of the serotonin is made in your gut. And that's the main neurotransmitter, the happy hormone, and that we give kids these drugs on. 3 million children now are on antidepressants in the US from 0 to 17 years old. 6,000 kids in the US under the age of 1 were prescribed SSRIs, which are these drugs that increase serotonin. If you increase the bugs, the microbes, it produces serotonin, which are affected because the microbes also have the shikimate pathway. So the plants have it, the microbes have it. The microbes are block with these aromatic amino acids that produce neurotransmitters that run your cognitive function. So like one of the reasons why we're having this massive amount of mental health challenge right now, in addition to the pandemic, depression, anxiety, is from the dearth of microbes from microbial death. And what I also found interesting, what you were saying before as well, regarding the humic and the fulvic acid, is one of the main ingredients we use to reverse glyphosate toxicity. And that's what's in a lot of products out on the market. I don't endorse any of them in particular, but farmers here in the Midwest give their cattle, for example, humic and fulvic acid to reverse glyphosate toxicity. But I wanted to give one pearl out there for eaters and listeners. Sometimes, you know, even organic regenerative crops have glyphosate because of wind, glyphosate drift, chemical drift. It's in here in the US. It's in about 5 to 9% of organic product is contaminated with GMOs and glyphosate. And so just drinking a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which has an organism called Acetobacter. Acetobacter is one of the few organisms that can break down glyphosate. Microbes can break down chemicals, assuming that they're not overwhelmed with a toxic load. We can probably handle a few, because we adults, I'm 63, we were exposed to a ton of chemicals, but we're not as sick as our children because we got less. We got chemicals. We had DDT sprays rolling down the streets of New York City. We were dancing in the fumes. That was fun. But we had fewer chemicals. The amount of glyphosate, for example, sprayed here in the US, and Australia is also high, is 300 million pounds a year. That's just glyphosate. And without all the other chemicals and pesticides that Gundi is talking about. So this is important to understand. We're back to glyphosate, that this chemical, so ubiquitous, this little simple molecule, and it is a simple molecule, causes so much damage. And that's how Monsanto first got a pass. They said it wasn't harmful to us because we didn't have the shikimate pathway, but indeed our microbes do. And we cannot produce the transmitters that run our brain function. So our kids have depression, anxiety, OCD, etc., and hopefully not even worse. So you want to reverse the health of our children, restore the soil, restore their food, restore the gut. It's not complicated. This is not a complicated equation.
No, it's actually quite simple, isn't it? You know, like to do.
That's all we have to do.
Yeah, another puzzle, you know, for again, you know, a bit of science to be put in there. You know, like the bacteria in the soil make all the minerals available, like the magnesium and the zinc. You know, this lady that had the chickpea crop with the 21, you know, pesticides, did hair tests and blood tests. And she said, my magnesium, my zinc, my selenium, my iodine, they were all non-existent, you know. And this is what also happens, you know, like when you look at, you know, the minerals might be in the soil, but they're chelated by glyphosate. One thing, they're also not made available for the plant. So this is the big thing, that you don't just eat in conventional food. You don't just eat poisoned food. You also eat nutrient deficient food. And, you know, so organically or regenerative grown on a compost heap in your garden, yeah, that has got all the nutrients that we need in it, because they are, and my goodness, that's a fascinating word when you start to go into that, you know, but normal food, hydroponically grown food, you know, on dead soils, you know, will not have, it will look like a tomato, it'll look like a broccoli, but it will not have the goodness in it. So then go into, you know, if you have one of them missing, zinc, you know, your cognitive function is gone, you know, the prostate cancer, you know, your tear ducts. Magnesium is in so many different enzymes in the body, you know, and from,
but the reason why this
is get that anymore.
But this is so imperative right now, because when they did some COVID studies and they looked at who were the patients who did the worst with COVID, and they had 14 studies looking at this. It were the patients with the lowest, for example, vitamin D levels, zinc levels, and et cetera, and all these minerals, particularly zinc. Well, and other chemicals and other minerals as well. If your terrain is not healthy, now for whatever reason, because you're not nutrifying your terrain, we cannot battle the common environmental exposures. I don't even like to call them pathogens, but just living in life. So Pasteur promoted the virus, Bichon promoted the terrain. It's probably both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But what my next book, the one I'm writing, is called Regain the Terrain. It's a help book for parents on how you rebuild your children's terrain, because it has been damaged, but it can be brought back. But parents have to be taught how to do it. This is not intuitive. You have to be taught, because even organic food, the nutrient content is not as high as it used to be. Better than conventionally grown crops, granted. So now I say buy the best food you can. And if you have extra money, we need supplements. I never said that 20 years ago. I now put most of my patients on vitamins if they can afford it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Organic food first. Food. And if there's extra, I don't want parents to run out and buy supplements. I try and buy food-based vitamins. And there are certain brands I buy that, we don't have to go into them to support, because kids are deficient. How do we know? You check their levels. Oh my God. When you look at their magnesium, their zinc levels, their vitamin D levels, their B12, and then with a couple genetic SNPs, and you wonder how, and you want to know why they can't focus in school. And so I can tell you, here in the US, pediatricians are not doing their job. It's like, do your job. And yes, you didn't learn nutrition in med school. Well, oh, boohoo, learn it now. You just have to Google it. It takes a second. Yeah. So we don't get a pass. As I'm a pediatrician, we don't get a pass. There's so much information now. There's so many ways to learn this stuff. And so this is a call out to my companions. It's not just about vaccine medicine, folks. This is nutritional medicine. So food is medicine. And one of my favorite sayings is, I have to grab it because I got this from a colleague and a dear friend. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. An Ayurvedic proverb. And I keep it on my desk to remind myself, because we have had to go to our own personal renaissance, as we keep talking about. We have to reinvent our own careers. This is not what we were taught. And for those of us on the front lines who take care of patients, we said, wait a minute, something is not right in Denmark. And so we, had to figure it out. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that each one of us practitioners, whether it's a veterinarian or a chiropractor, is doing this alone. There's going to be like, oh my God, why didn't someone tell me? That is not okay. So there has to be a massive re-education of eaters, parents, and practitioners. But the only way we do that is by these conversations. Here are you two gals, farmers, talking to practitioners on how we're doing it. But it shouldn't be an individualized program. There should be a global education. We have to shift the dial. And the only way we're doing is by this way, because people have chronic disease. Animals are chronically ill. Animals have cancer, so do people. And so, the dog statistics on cancer are horrific. It's the same in adults. 1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women in the US will get cancer. It's a fact. So how do we change the trajectory? It's by diet. First. And if you don't change your diet, I don't work with patients, by the way. If patients don't change their food, I say, you're wasting my time.
And big point, it doesn't just mean, go and buy the vegetables. You have to really go organic. It's not so much what you eat, it is how that food was grown. That's a big message, I think, that we should both put across, isn't it, after all of this?
If people are ready to hear that, if that's where they're at, that's where you start. You start where people are at, either the super newbie or, super green crunchy folks, like where I live. I live in a super crunchy town. Most of the people where I live, they can give this lecture because they're on it. We have like 3 organic groceries in our little town of 10,000 people. So I'm in a bubble here where I live. But that's not the rest of the US, I can tell you that. So it depends who's your community. And it's all over the map, it's everywhere. So when we start working with families, we say, where are you at? Tell me what we all do in telemedicine because of COVID, I say, show me a snapshot of your pantry. What's in your fridge?
Wow.
I can tell if I just look, I can see.
This has been such an amazing conversation, and I would just love to keep talking about Gundi. I know that you've got some surgeries to do, and wow, what an amazing conversation. And I suppose for those that are listening out there, maybe when we get this onto a YouTube, send it to your doctor, send it to your practitioner. You know, that's the thing. Like it's actually that, send it to whoever it is that you want to share with your friends, your family, because this information is not well known, you know. So thank you, Gundi, and thank you, Michelle. Just a wonderful, and we just have to have you back, I think. Kel?
Most definitely. That was such an inspiring conversation. I think for any parent out there who's worried about their kids, and that's pretty much, I'd say, 1 in 2 right now. And for pet owners and anyone who loves their animals. And I mean, this conversation just crosses so many communities and cultures and practices and industries. And I mean, basically, it's a global issue. And we're dealing now with it's brought right back to the family group. So when something like it's so externalized like this, that has been done to us in the external world, the solution is always when we bring it back to our family groups, to our immediate backyards. And thank you so much, both of you, because for me, what I'm hearing from this dialogue, if your pet is sick, or your family member's sick, or your backyard is looking sick, it comes down to looking at the nutrition. It comes down to the diet. So like if you did nothing other than that, but move your family member onto an organic, you know, or even better, grow some of this food yourself, but into an organic diet, just that alone, after a couple of weeks, I'm assuming a couple of months, Michelle, you probably correct me on the timeline here, but just that alone would dramatically alter the course of their future when it comes to their well-being, their mental disposition, their emotional response, their mental creativity, their mental geniusness. And I think as we come out of this revolution, where food and the planet and our animals are back in harmony and in alignment with health and well-being, when I say we're going to see a human renaissance, what I'm talking about is that genius quality that will thrive through the human brain as it is decalcified from all of this toxicity and poisonous content that has been bombarded on us. And I'm so excited to say that we are alive today to watch this change happen on planet Earth. So viewers of Regenerate, our hearty vodcast, have hope. For the world and the people and the planet and the human's ability to regenerate has been vastly, vastly underestimated. And it is our secret weapon, and we will rise. And this is an amazing time to be alive. So thank you, our beautiful guests. It has been a privilege and an honor. And we will catch you in 2 weeks' time for our next vodcast here at Regenerate. So everyone have the best week ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.